It's lights out and away we go!
What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the GT UK F1 podcast, and I am joined by David.
Hey, everyone.
So, don't forget, you get your podcasts, Spotify, Amazon, Samsung Podcasts, RSS.com. You know where to find us. And obviously, every time there is a race, it will be on a Wednesday at 3 o'clock that the episode does release. So after this week, there isn't any for 3 week, 2 week, 3 week.
4 weeks of that. And we have a triple header after that, don't we?
Yes, we do.
Just to make things awkward, but that's the way.
And then
calendar.
a 2 week, and then a 1, 2, 1 race, 2 race, which is on the 1st of December, and then the season finale.
And we're done. Yeah.
But
Jesus.
Baku, and Baku. Yeah.
Baku is a circuit that's quickly becoming one of my favourites, one of our recent ones. Because we always seem to get something interesting here.
Something interesting.
Can I just quickly, before we do, say congratulations to Crofty on his wedding the weekend before the race? That's why he wasn't at Baku this weekend. I bet he's gutted he missed this one.
Oh, I bet. But you know what made me laugh?
Go on.
Somebody commented on Twitter, X, whatever, and basically said, Crofty always seems to make the race sound exciting. Crofty replied, it wasn't me commentating.
Yeah, I knew he wasn't, like I said.
I knew he wasn't going to be there.
I knew it was his wedding the weekend before. He had wedding in France. But he missed. I mean, I'm going to say now, it was a great race.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I think in the usual section, I don't think we didn't see any practices. I've said before, unfortunately, with my work and timings, all I get to see is qualifying in the race. That's just the way it goes.
Yeah.
I'd love to be able to catch more, but I'm not willing to sit down and watch like hours of stuff out of time for not a lot.
Yeah, well, bloody. Apparently, Bahrain's getting the test next year again.
Which isn't a bad thing, you know. I am a big fan of the Bahrain.
Yeah, but like you said, they've got to go from Bahrain to bloody Australia because Australia's the season opener next year.
Yes, you're a long way in the correct direction.
Well, yeah.
You know what I mean? It's one of these sounds. It's not like they're going from Canada to Australia sort of job.
Yeah.
But yeah,
so,
I'm actually happy to see that. But anyway, yeah. So let's try and do something weird for us to stay a little bit more on topic. So qualifying is where I can begin.
Wow.
I don't know. You did a read back. Was there anything that stood out from you in any of the practice sessions? From what you read?
Not really, because, Max looked on it in the first session, Perez looked on it in the first, but then it all seemed to go to shit for Red Bull a bit, looking at the second session, apart from Perez, because Perez likes street tracks. Ferrari seemed to show the hand a little bit, but then...
I'm just looking at practice 2. The gap between Charles and Sergio, 0.006.
Exactly.
And then Hamilton only 0.66.
Yeah.
You know, it's nice.
And then Sainz was
half a second, basically.
466.
Well, again, practice 3 was the same, 0.013 for Leclerc from Russell. Now, that to me says a lot about what great position we're in right now. With a different car on top of each one of those sessions.
Yeah.
You know, we've hit the point where we seem to have actually decent...
But like I say, it looked like Perez had a shocker, but I think there was red flags. Looking at it, I think there was red flags.
I think didn't Colapinto wall it at some point? I don't think what I saw on like Sky Sports, Facebook and all that.
I know Leclerc did.
But
that
I think it was a Colapinto or Behrman. It might have been Behrman managed to.
Somebody.
I think Piastri did as well at some point. Somebody put it somewhere. There's a quote, folks.
But it was one of them.
But yeah, so we're heading to qualifying with a very mixed bag, I would say.
Well, yeah, because the big shocker to come out of Q1.
I know, and I don't know if you've read what I put on the podcast sheet. I think summed you up nicely.
And it was just like...
We're talking about Norris out in Q1, by the way, which I think, was it a yellow flag sort of?
It was fucking Ocon, I think.
I noticed from quali, Sainz was having some interesting explorations around the limits of the track. He seemed to find run-off areas 2 or 3 times.
So did Leclerc, though.
Hmm.
They just, for some reason, something was just kind of not gelling for Ferrari. Just the way that they seem to not be able to...
Yeah, the car was quick, but seemed to be almost on the edge a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, it was. I'm sure it was either Gasly or Ocon that screwed Norris over in Q1.
It was more like a really slow-moving car, wasn't it? And that
But the
was
problem
triggering yellow flags.
it was showing yellow on his dashboard, but then the panel probably showed white. A marshal was showing a white flag, not a yellow flag, and there was just a lot of confusion.
And the trouble is, as a driver, though, you don't risk it, because if it turned out it was supposed to be yellow,
Mm.
in your lap time to leave, he's not worth the risk of thinking, oh, it's probably a mistake.
That's why he went off the steering wheel, I think. But it was just like... Even I couldn't get my head around what the hell was going on. Even when they looked at it back on the review, the camera quality...
Yeah.
Isn't that good, so you couldn't tell if it was a white or a yellow.
Oh, yeah.
And that was what, like I said, that was watching it on a bloody TV, not, you know, not a phone screen or something like that. You couldn't tell.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I mean... Carlo Pinto's impressed me.
Oh, he's just... Let's put it this way. Would Sargent have got that car into Q3?
It's more like, did he?
No, I said, would Sargent have got that car into Q3? No.
No.
I mean, okay, he only out-qualified Albon because Williams had an issue of not removing carriage parts from their car. Is the polite way of putting it, which we haven't checked yet, but I do believe there'll be a fine incoming to them for that.
I believe so, but I've not heard anything. I mean, fair play to Behrman, to be honest, as well.
The thing is, Behrman's this is actually great for Behrman because he's in that car next year. I believe that's already confirmed as of this point.
Yeah, he's in the team.
So this is just chance, and I mean, let's be honest, when he drove the Ferrari back at Jeddah, ironically a street circuit again.
Yeah.
He actually impressed. Like I say, he is still not last in the championship. I mean, okay, he didn't get any points here, but he still sat 16th. Ironically, he's still ahead of K-Man in the driver championship.
And it's just... It's crazy to think, you know, that, you know, the likes of the younger guys, you know, Logan Sargent had how many races he never scored a point?
Yeah.
Carlo Pinto's had what? 2?
This is his second race.
And scored 4.
Yeah. That's it.
I mean, yeah,
Yeah,
that's
we all know Albon outdrives that car big style.
except when he's got a cooling fan stuck in the car. But I
Yeah.
tell you what, Alex must have some. Okay, I know we're skipping between sessions here, but Alex must have some strength because he was.
Lift that thing up and out of the way, yeah.
Well, it's not that. The fact that he was pinned. Literally, the drivers are pinned in, aren't they, with the seatbelts? They're tight as anything.
Yeah.
For him to be able to get his arms up, get it out, and just chuck it off.
Oh, yeah, I know what you mean.
I mean, it was I'd like to say Alpine were going well till they weren't. And then Gasly gets himself DQ'd for fuel flow.
Yeah, which apparently wasn't actually giving the cars an advantage because he was probably actually making them drive worse. But it's outside of regulation, so it gets...
Because it was putting more fuel into the engine. Or something like that.
Obviously, Gasly got a little bit of a reprise because both Ocon and Hamilton started from the pit lane. I did love that thing Alan sent to us when he said Hamilton pit lane for using multiple engines. It was like, wait, how many is he trying to fit?
Yeah. But I think as well that Leclerc had something to prove there.
Oh, yeah.
During qualifying, I think he had something to prove.
Well, they've said before, it's a true past of years gone by. Leclerc just seems to get on well with that circuit. And he's probably still riding that little bit of a high from Monza. And he put the lap together brilliantly. I mean, I've got to give credit to Piastri. Piastri right now is on an absolute...
Well, the problem was, I don't think... Right now, I didn't... During qualifying, I was thinking, okay, so Norris is out, and then it was like, right, well, what is Piastri going to do? And, yeah, bugger me, he goes and just sticks it on second. And Leclerc took an extra lap. Sainz struggled.
Sainz struggled. We saw a Perez back to the Perez we knew and loved, I felt. Which, as you can imagine, I'm really happy about.
Until we get onto the discussion later on.
Yeah, Perez out-qualifying Max for, I believe, the first time this season.
Yep, I would say so. I mean, Russell is showing his usual form against, like, Hamilton and stuff. I mean...
Russell will come on to this during the race. I don't know what it is about Merck. They seem to be able to pull the luck.
Yeah.
Because when things go wrong, they always seem to be there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, like I say, we'll come on to this during the race, but Russell in particular, is doing what Perez used to do in the Force India.
Yeah.
He's just always there.
I mean, the problem is, one of my most iconic moments for Perez was from him going last to first.
Yeah, the Bahrain out of loop.
Yeah.
End of the first lap, had no front wing on it, pitted and went on to win the race.
Yep.
Yeah, that which is still... But you look at his entire Force India career, we've discussed this at length. He was always the first... He was pretty much always the first non-big team car.
Yeah.
Because back then, it was like the Red Bull and the Merc were the two main. Ferrari were having a bit of a no-man's land time. And it always seemed to be Perez who was next.
Yeah.
And if ever anything happened to them top four, it always
Perez
be
was
him.
there.
And it's a great thing. If you can do that reliably, you will pick up good points.
Yeah, but it seems to be the way with Russell. Or
Yeah.
Just Mercedes in general.
Yeah. Well, yeah, look how they sort of inherited Austria this year after the leaders fell over each other. Spa sort of fell into the lap a little bit and then one of their cars got disqualified, but that's...
He should have ate more.
Shouldn't have had a dump before he went to the circuit.
Yeah. But
He just had carrying Roscoe around in the car with him from now on, just to be sure.
yeah. Lewis, can I borrow your dog?
No, it was Lewis that got DQ'd. One. Oh no, it was Russell. One. Sorry,
Russell got DQ'd.
Yeah, yeah. Started carrying the dog with him.
Yeah, Russell, can I borrow Roscoe? He'll add some ballast to me. But it's
yeah,
like...
the rest of the qualifying grid is, they say, well done to the two Williams in the top 10 of qualifying, say Behrman in 10th.
Yeah. But Stroll was just... Yeah, Stroll was just Stroll. Just... Yeah, no. Alonso yet again.
As I joked me down when we were talking about the Newey deal, which I believe we discussed did we discuss this last podcast? Or?
No, we didn't.
We probably should mention that. Probably after the race we'll come on to that a little bit.
Yeah.
But, you know, I joked about the level he's going to try and buy him a championship now. It's getting silly. He's going to have to start buying FIA at this rate.
Just wouldn't fucking surprise me, though.
But yeah, the rest of the grid, obviously saying Norris down in 15th as it was by the time penalties and pit lane starts had been applied.
Because there's something I'm going to get onto when we start talking about the race, which won't be too far away, I imagine.
I think I have nothing else to mention for qualifying.
No, I don't.
Yeah, there was quite a few yellows, but I guess because it's a circuit with no runoff areas.
Well, they have runoff, but
all in particular places. A slow-running car can't really get off the circuit as such because there's nowhere for it to go.
I mean, well, where Norris was at that point, he kind of could have just... That's the massive runoff area before the S's. I mean, one thing we didn't get was track limits.
It's amazing how that works when there's massive barriers between them and the...
Yeah. I don't know what it is about that castle section. Every time I see a car go through that castle section...
You think they're not going to make it, don't you?
It makes me...
Oh, I know exactly what you mean.
Because
I know exactly what you mean.
They have the Armco or the Pro... Whatever the hell it is. The Tech Pro one side. And the other side's just a solid stone wall.
And
it's just like... And if you look at Baku in real life, that's not an uphill section. Cars go down that section. Cars drive down it. And it's like, okay, yeah, I get a car. It, you know, not very quick through there because it'll be all single file, but an F1 car doing what, 50?
I think they're doing more than that at that point, but yeah, I know what you're saying.
But what, about 50, 60 mile an hour, something, or whatever through there? Yeah, it kind of would make you wince because you've got the yeah, no.
Shut your eyes and hold on.
Well, you can't do it if you're driving the fucking car, but Jesus. I mean, if a car hit there, that's an instant red flag. Austin Powers moment. How the hell would they recover?
I think they've got a crane nearby ready to try and do it quickly.
Just in case. But, yeah, that bit, that's the only bit that always makes me...
I know what you mean.
Feel very uneasy is that castle section. So, basically do a bit of paperwork. Obviously, Guan Yu Zhou was required to start at the back of the grid for use of multiple additional power unit elements. Obviously, Gasly was disqualified from qualifying for technical non-conformality, in other words, his fuel flow. Race. Obviously, he was allowed to race at Stewart's discretion. Hamilton and Ocon were required to start from the pit lane after cars were modified under parc fermé conditions and additional power unit elements were used.
Yep.
And that's like you said. All the penalties got applied. That put Norris up to P15. And that's what I didn't mention about the qualifying either. Danny Ricciardo just didn't seem to have stellar either.
I think the RBs in general, I don't think were.
Well, I believe it's after Singapore there is going to be a decision who is possibly filling that second RB seat.
That being the one that Ricardo's currently in.
Yep. And I believe Lawson's name's been mentioned again.
Well, he's certainly impressed when he got in the car briefly, so...
Yeah. I mean, Danny Rick's on loan from bloody Red Bull anyways. He's Red Bull's reserve.
RB is Red Bull.
Sister team.
It's Red Bull. It's full on Red Bull. They may say sister team for legality reasons, but it's full on Red Bull.
Yeah, but he's on loan from the main team. Really. Because he's the reserve. Except they've had to have one of the other... They'll have... If something happened to... Now there's an interesting thought. Something happens to Max or Perez. Who the hell do they get to step in to that main car? You would have to, in my opinion, you would have to put Danny in one of the main cars, and you would have to put the reserve driver into the other RB.
I actually genuinely agree. I think for the sake of ease, they'd either put Danny in or they'd give Lawson a shot.
Not in the main car, they wouldn't.
You never know. They might. If there's only a couple of races left of the season, they might.
Yeah. Either that or they'd call Hadjar. Because Hadjar's another one that they could call on. But I reckon for ease, they would probably put Danny in it.
I think you're probably right there. As much as I'm not sure how deserving he will be of it.
Well, yeah. But if he's a reserve driver, then what option do they have? Like I say, apart from Hadjar, and I don't think Hadjar's quite ready.
Well, like I say, it appears to me... I still don't quite know what... Because the reserve driver thing seems to mean nothing these days.
Well, it's like
you just need to drop in whoever they want anyway.
Well, it's like Mick. Mick was supposed to be a reserve. Have we seen him out in that car?
No.
You know what I mean? It's like the last person they put in the Merc was Kimi Antonelli, and look how that ended up at Monza. Let's get back on topic. Keep on topic. But, so, the start of the race.
The start of the race, go ahead.
Who did you think got the better start? Out of?
Probably Perez, to be fair. I think Perez got one of the better starts, but just left with nowhere to go.
Well, yeah. But, like, Leclerc... Who got the better start out of Leclerc and Oscar?
I think Oscar just, but Charles had... Charles just had enough left to stay in front.
Yeah, but did he have the clean side of the grid? Because don't forget, Baku has the clean side and the dirty side. And the left seems to be the dirty side of the grid.
Well, it isn't it, because the racing line is down the right-hand side.
Yeah. I'm trying to think which way was Leclerc on the inside? Or was he on the outside? He'd have been on the inside, wouldn't he?
He's on the inside. I think first place is on the outside on the good line, and then so even numbers will be on the inside.
Yeah.
But no, Perez Leclerc managed to keep the lead. Oscar was on it from the word go. I think Oscar really felt this was his best opportunity to get a proper win, shall we say?
Well, yeah, because you got to think the whole Hungary's win was a bit overshadowed with
I still honestly believe that this one
team
will feel 10
orders.
times better.
Oh, I can imagine so. But it was just, yeah, it looked pretty exciting to begin with. Then it sort of petered down a little bit as they were managing tyres.
Yeah. We've got had Norris running a split strategy, whereas he started on the hards to try and get
Go
himself back
long.
up a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, Max was nowhere, really.
Max, let's say we seem to have it was a 1 weekend where Perez actually seemed to have a better deal with the car than Max did, because Max seems to be doing nothing but complaining and fighting with the car.
And so, was it... Let me just check here. So he was 11th. Stroll. So Stroll must have got a bloody good start on Hulkenberg.
Yeah, I think Hulkenberg went back a little bit. There was a couple of them did. Stroll got a little bit of a jump. And then obviously Stroll and Yuki collided into turn 5, I believe it'll work out as.
Yeah. Turn.
Which gave Stroll a puncture, and it later transpired put a massive hole in Yuki's side pod.
Did Stroll get done for it?
I think the fact they ended up retiring, I think they took it as.
Yeah, but Stroll retired because of brakes. He didn't retire because of the
Yeah, but he still
incident.
didn't score, you know what I mean? It's
No.
obviously Yuki carried on for a little bit.
Yeah, but I feel not Yuki, because it wasn't Yuki's fault. I feel Stroll should have been punished for it.
Possible, we're going to come on to something like that a bit later on. But yeah, because it was Stroll who tried to dive.
And then turn around and accuse Yuki of closing the door. Well, Yuki had the fucking corner.
We're
Stroll...
also going back to something that we've discussed before, which is it's like the first lap, first corners. We want them to race. We've always said there needs to be a little bit more leeway.
Yeah, but it wasn't the first couple of corners.
It was still, but the way Baku's laid out, it was sort of
Turn 4.
Yeah, but you're still in that sort of area. You've not had a chance for the cars to spread out.
No, but Stroll over years has got away with some pretty fucking dicey shit.
Oh yeah, I'm not disagreeing with you
And
there.
he's never been punished for it, really. Which, I mean, and the thing is, it's not bloody Lawrence Stroll who's now got to foot the bill to replace that side pod. It is RB.
Yeah.
That have to basically foot the bill for that repair. Or, well, new side pod, basically, because his son stuck a fucking great big hole in it. Probably not on purpose, but he just... There's going to be many Stroll fans probably hating me right now.
You mean there'll be many left at this point?
Well, there will be now. There might be more now. Newy's come on board. The I don't think he deserves to keep the seat.
We've had this discussion a few times.
I know we've had this discussion, but
and especially if Adrian Newey going into the team means what we think it could mean, I think they're going to reel not having somebody with a bit more capabilities in that car.
Yeah. I've said stick somebody else in. Keep whoever you've got on experience-wise, for example, Alonso.
Yeah.
Get somebody else in. Bring in Drugovic or somebody like that. Bring in the reserve.
Oh, yeah.
Lance can just go fuck off and do some skiing and shit. Because I'm not a fan of Stroll.
No,
and
because I'm not exactly the head of his supporters club.
No, and it's just to the point of now. Well, I'm only in F1 because my dad basically owns the team, and basically what Aston Martin are doing, regardless of what shit fucking Daddy Stroll puts out, the talent blocking.
Oh yeah.
Basically, they'll get an experienced guy in, and then Stroll gets the other seat, and it's like you're talent blocking. There's far better drivers than your son.
Yep.
Well, wait. Yeah, let's see how many messages of shit I get off that. But it's a true fact.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, no. I just because if they turn around and said, "Well, we're getting rid of Stroll," and not Stroll, if we're getting rid of, for example, getting rid of Alonso and putting Drugovic alongside Stroll, it's like, look, you may think Lance has experience.
Yeah, but not the experience you want.
Yeah. Lance has a few bad habits and yeah, some of his overtakes are quite bullish, shall we say.
Oh yeah.
But anyways, I've had my little rant for now. I'll get down off my soapbox for now.
Another race sort of calmed down till the end when he picked really back up again. Piastri, I'll give him credit, that dive he made on Leclerc. I think there was about a 50% chance of that actually working and not putting them both in a wall, and they got away with it.
But even Oscar said it was a 50-50.
Oh, yeah.
And the team had actually ordered him not to do it. To not go for Leclerc at that point because of how far back he was. But it was an absolute fucking mega move. And it worked. And it has done him well.
Oh, yeah, because then after that we had probably some of the best racing we've seen this season.
He was, well, they were showing, didn't they show at one point how much battery he had left, and wasn't it showing 0?
It was showing how much he was regenerating, and the answer was minus 20%. So he was actually. There was also a couple of great slow-mo shots of Leclerc in particular coming off that last turn, leaving massive black lines down the track.
Because he was drifting it.
Yeah.
He was just literally. And the problem was, I think the fighting between Oscar and Leclerc did Leclerc no favours.
Wait, Leclerc spent too many laps tucked in behind Oscar, and he basically did his tyres in.
It did his back tyres in, didn't it? He hit the cliff.
Mm.
And it's just like, yeah, I'm not going to complain at racing like that.
Oh no, I think when we look back at the end of the year, race of the season,
Oh, I would
unless
say unless something else happens, I would say so.
I mean, the fact that we had 3 different manufacturers in the top 3, but then we had the same 3 again, 4th, 5th, and 6th having the exact same battle. It was like action replay.
But you had Sainz and bloody
You had Sainz, Verstappen, and Russell behind the main show.
yeah.
And it was just like, it was great. Every lap was just.
And obviously Lando was catching Max towards a rate of knots.
Mm.
It was just like, yeah, that was a good race. Until the point of my jaw just it dropped.
Yeah, which is where, as I say, as somebody who really enjoyed seeing Perez back on form now, I put in the chat thing. Where do you start? Where do you stick blame for that one? Because what we're talking about is Sainz coming out of turn 2. Basically, going into turn 1, was it Leclerc had to go at Oscar and slowed.
No.
Managed to slow.
Yeah.
No, Perez had to go at Leclerc because Leclerc's tyres had gone.
Yeah.
That let Sainz back through. Sainz then nearly got a run up the side of Leclerc.
Yeah.
But in backing off, Perez got back up the inside of him, and then I must confess, I put this slightly more on Sainz. Because from the shots I saw, it very much looked like Sainz was starting to drift towards the centre of the track.
Well, right. So Sainz and Perez were sort of alongside each other. I'll use that in the looseless terms because I know it wasn't, because Sainz was in front at one point. Had Sainz looked in his mirror? Because he looked to see. At one point, he did look, but I think that was to looking at where Leclerc was.
Yeah.
But then, as Perez was sort of. Perez's front wheel was towards Sainz's back wheel.
Yeah.
And I don't think Sainz was sort of. I don't know, because Sainz's reaction was like, well, what happened there? It's like, you drifted over.
Yeah, like I say, to me, I put it. I can't say both of them are clean, but I put it more on Sainz. Sainz had more room to back away. I think Sainz was going into a gap that wasn't going to work.
Well, yeah, but it wasn't just that. It was the fact that a lot of people saying, well, Perez had the room to move. Well, Perez was on the line.
On the line. Yeah.
So Perez was on racing line. But yeah, Sainz drifted over, basically. His back wheel caught Perez's front wheel and pit maneuvered.
Dragged them both into the wall.
Yeah. Perez was pissed. Rightly so.
Yeah. Which then caused the race to finish under VSC, which gave Russell third.
Yeah. But, yeah, rightly so, Perez was pissed. Because Perez could have been on that bloody podium.
I think Perez was pretty much on track for at least a third, wasn't he?
Yeah.
A second, because Leclerc did not have pace anymore. Leclerc's tyres had gone.
And, yeah, I mean, to be honest, Sainz was at fault, but I disagree with the steward's decision. Do you know what the stewards put it down to?
Racing incident, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Which I can see that. I can go with that. I know what you're saying. I don't disagree with you, but
I
can see.
I'm sorry, but they've handed out grid penalties for less.
That's true.
They've
If it was
hand,
your FIA rant.
that's the thing. They've handed out grid penalties for less. I'm back on my soapbox, folks.
I need to
And
steal a thing off him, don't I?
I think Sainz should have been carrying a grid penalty to Singapore. Yes, it put them both out of the race, but there was no way they were going to finish that race under a safety car. There was not enough time.
No, well, no, you mean he was always going to finish under safety car with VSC? Because it was 2 laps from the end, so it was always going to finish that way.
Yeah, but what I mean is it wouldn't have finished.
I mean, the only other thing would have been to do the whole bloody Australia the other year thing and red flag it and line them up for 1 lap again. But there could also be the point, because of it being a street circuit, there could be different timings and stuff in place.
But Leclerc would have tumbled back further down the order if they'd have lined them up and.
Well, no, because he's been allowed to change tyres. Because did you notice, just as all that happened, Max was pitting?
Yeah, Max went put a set of softs on trying to get the fastest lap back off Lando.
Get fastest lap point back.
Didn't work.
If they'd have had a red flag, Leclerc would have been allowed to change tyres.
Yeah, so would Oscar.
Yeah.
But, I think Sainz should have been carrying a grid penalty to Singapore over it.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
To put it down as a racing incident, it's like, but how is it a racing incident? Technically, Perez sort of drove into Sainz, but Perez didn't move the wheel. Perez was straight at that point. Sainz was drifting.
That's why it's classed as a race because they were both to blame, probably about evenly. And it's like you're not going to punish both cars. They both ended up out, so they kind of got a punishment in the race.
Yeah, but it was hard. They were hard racing them two, and them two hadn't been best of friends entirely the weekend, anyways. Because I'd heard of impeding and shit like that. There was shit going on between them two.
Oh yeah.
But initially, I would put the blame more on, not because I'm a Perez fan, just, I would initially put, after seeing the clips and watching the clips again, I would initially put more of the blame on Sainz.
Yeah.
But that's my view on it. Other people may think differently. I just, like I say, I disagree with the steward's decision over it, but there's nothing you can do now. I'm not the one that's on the stewarding panel. I'll tell you something, I'd love to be on the stewarding panel. But
don't worry. I'm worried that you're going to be in a steward. Christ, we'd all be in trouble.
But I'm not there. I'm not an ex-racing driver. Because wasn't it Johnny Herbert again?
I don't know. You look into these kind of things.
I believe it was Johnny Herbert again. I think he's now since been dumped by Sky. I think he's now gone more into the racing steward side.
Possibly, yeah.
I mean, yeah, okay, kind of feel sorry for bloody Rachel as well.
Mm.
The fact that she wasn't on the broadcast she was supposed to be, arrives in bloody Baku and then ends up going for a appendix operation.
Is that? Oh, right, she was doing a science, eh?
Yeah, she had to. She thought it was food poisoning, and it actually wasn't. It was appendicitis. And it's just like, fucking hell. But she'll be back in Texas.
Fair dues.
But yeah, no, fair play to Oscar. If he hadn't done that dive, I think the race would have been slightly different.
Yeah, fair play to Oscar.
Like we said.
Well done to the Williams. 7th and 8th, good points. Your team well down the order. I say Behrman got a point. Yeah, he kind of inherited that a little bit because of the 2 retirees. But he outfinished Nico.
Yeah.
Yeah.
you know, Hamilton got
Actually,
picked up 2 points. George just
no, Norris did outscore Verstappen, but not by a lot. That's the problem.
no. It's
If
not.
I mean, if Norris wants to win this championship, he needs more than 3 points.
And the thing is,
Difference.
looking at the driver standings, so Max is 313, Norris is
It's
254.
about 59 points in it by my maths.
Yeah. Now,
So, well, what? We're 8 races left?
yeah. He could do it.
But he needs more than 3 points difference.
Yeah. Now, constructors is a little bit too early to say,
But McLaren have taken the lead of it.
but Red Bulls no longer sit on there. There's 20 points difference now at this point.
Yeah.
I bet that pisses Red Bull off somewhat chronic.
Well, like I say, it's early days yet. There's a lot of ground to cover.
I mean, technically, that gap, if Sainz and Perez hadn't have come together, there could have been a possibility Ferrari could still catch Red Bull at this point.
Ferrari are still in with a shout at this stage.
Yeah,
Ferrari are still in with a shout.
yeah, but obviously with Perez out and Sainz out, that severely dented
Yeah.
their points haul.
I mean, let's be honest, mathematically, Mercedes is still within a shout, but that will be a longer shot.
Yeah.
Well-
But the top three teams, it's going to be a very exciting end towards the season to see what happens in that Constructors' Championship. I mean, like we say, the drivers isn't sealed.
Oh, it's a long way from it. A long way from it.
It isn't sealed at this point. But it's going to be a little bit of an exciting end to the 2024 season. Whether that's going to be, will we see Lando get his first Drivers' Championship?
I think it's a longer shot.
But the
You know what I mean? I know that sounds silly.
Red Bull keeps going the way it is.
I think it's Max's to lose.
Well, we know it's Max's to lose, but this is what I'm saying. Will we see Lando? It's not mathematically out of the question.
Oh, no, I know it isn't. 100% it isn't, but we'll see.
Will we see Lando become a world champion? Will McLaren get the Constructors' Championship?
Tune in next time to find out.
I mean, yes, it's going to be very, very interesting come Singapore.
Oh, yeah. Well, Singapore generally one that
Red Bull
don't do well at.
But can Sainz do the double?
Wait and see.
Because Sainz won here last year, didn't he?
Yeah, he was the only non-Red Bull driver to win last year at this circuit.
Yeah. So, could be interesting. I mean, at least the timings are at decent. Well, the practice timings are a bit scrappy. 10:30 till 11:30. I mean, the two till 3. Yeah, that's not bad for FP2 if I wanted to watch that. But say 10:30 till 11:30. But then the qualifying's like 2 till 3 on the Saturday. And then the Sunday, the race is at 1, so, not a bad race time. I don't want to look at this, David. I really don't want to look at this.
You don't want to look at this. Come on, man.
I don't want to look at this. And everybody knows exactly what. It's come to that point where we're about to be looking at the Fantasy League.
Yeah.
And I bet you, before I even click the Azerbaijan, I bet Ryan's on top. No. Oh, Alan, you sneaky git.
Yeah, no, I thought that when I saw that. Basically, it's RB screwed Ryan.
It screwed me and all. And Williams did me alright. Oscar did me alright.
Hmm.
Sainz screwed me by 4. -4. You guys put Carla Pinto in.
Yeah. Which turned out to be a pretty good,
Yeah.
turned out to be a positive move. I made a few changes. See, I made one more change. I should have got if I've got one pint. I made probably 4 changes.
Ooh, you lost
Only 10 points.
10 points. Yeah, but
Yeah, but that's now in. That's only for this one race. That's now in locked in.
yeah.
As I put in the master sheet when after Q1, I thought I changed notices to my team and look what happened Q1. Oh, that's just fucking typical. That is.
Yeah. But yeah, I had a shit one.
Hmm. So overall, the gap between me and Ryan closes further. Now it's down to what is it? 50. It's about 70 points.
Yeah. Alan's overtook me.
Alan's overtook you.
Yeah, I'm at the bottom. Alan's got me.
Oh, you might need to think about some changes now. Try to see if you can claw it back.
Yep. That might be the case for Singapore.
Yeah, I'll say I made a change or two, which I think has helped in general. I think even with the 10-point penalty, I think I did better than my original lineup would have done.
Because your original lineup was was it Yuki, Guan Yu Zhou? You had Max for Monza. You had Max, Albon, Piastri, Tsunoda, and Guan Yu Zhou.
Yes, I've dropped Albon, Joe, and Yuki,
If I'm right.
and had a reshuffle.
And then you
It's
had
just making the budgets work basically. Because obviously, to move driver, you got to sometimes change.
yeah. I'll have to have a think about that change. I'm going to need it. But okay, so one last thing before we finish.
Go ahead.
It was a Newey thing, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, the news that Adrian Newey is joining Aston Martin. It was sort of being potted around as rumours,
Oh yeah.
but it's now official.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you think that means? Could we see a Fernando Alonso championship in the next year or two?
And if they keep him.
I really don't think we're going to see a Stroll championship unless something really strange happens.
Yeah. Because it depends if they can keep him. I mean, Adrian Newey is he's a partner and he's a shareholder with an Aston Martin. No other team had offered him that.
Yeah.
I mean, that is Stroll just, well, you know, that's Lawrence Stroll just flexing there.
Oh yeah.
You know, look this is what we can offer you. No other team was prepared to offer it.
Yeah.
But this is what we'll give you. to come to us. I mean, Adrian knew he was going to be head of whatever it was, his technical role or whatever. He's the head of it. Then there is people he's worked, somebody below him that's worked with him at Red Bull.
Yeah.
Dan Fallows, if I remember rightly. I think Dan Fallows used to work for Red Bull, I think. But yeah, so he's going to be under Adrian.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, we'll probably see Aston Martin bounce back, which is needed. But to be honest, I think Red Bull's dominance is done.
It's looking like it's certainly looking harder for them.
Yeah, it's done.
The other teams have caught up. Now, if this means we can get a 3-4-way fight into next year's World Championship, how great does that sound?
Yeah. I mean, we're not going to see Aston Martin. I don't think we'll see anything special from them till at least 2026.
Possibly not.
Until the regulation change.
Yeah.
And then obviously we're losing Sauber. Well, we're losing Sauber as the name.
Yeah, but it's the Audi team.
Yeah. It's Audi. But it won't be officially Audi until 2026.
Yeah.
Well, it will be Audi, but it'll be Audi, but officially it won't be Audi.
Won't have an Audi engine till 26.
Yeah. Now, Aston Martin are getting Honda.
Yeah.
So they're not going to be Merc donkeyed anymore.
And Red Bull are going to be Ford.
Red Bull will be Ford.
I tell you what, considering everyone said electric's the future, internal combustion engines are dead. Formula E's dying, or getting more manufacturers coming into.
Yeah.
Which is great times.
Alpine.
It's looking like we might lose Renault, though, isn't it? It's looking like
Alpine is not going to be wanting to use Renault. So where will they go?
Well, the rumour is Mercedes, isn't it?
I mean, the rumour is Mercedes, but it's like somebody was. I think it was you, one of you guys. How can you still call it Alpine if
Well, no, it wasn't me. 'Cause to be honest with you, it's one of those. It's like we had with the Caterham team in for years.
Yeah.
Didn't have a Caterham engine in it.
No.
We had Lotus in. Didn't have a Lotus engine. Now I'm talking in modern era. I know we had Lotus back in the day. Well,
Was it
I always said I always make this joke that Renault always struck me as the kind of the odd ones in F1.
Hmm.
Don't get me wrong, I'm glad they're there. More impressive, better. But when you look at the car lineup, Ferrari obviously are Ferrari.
Yeah.
Mercedes do make a line of sports cars, of supercars. Renault, could you see the F1 car park? Charles and Sainz rock up in a pair of Ferraris. There's an couple of Aston Martins, Red Bull pull up in the top Infinities, and then the Alpine guys rock up in a pair of Clios. It's not quite got the same.
No.
It's not quite the same level somehow.
Yeah. And it's just.
But
yeah, I don't know because obviously Haas Ferrari. RB is obviously Honda still at this point.
yeah, but I'm guessing they're going to go to Ford at the same time as Red Bull does.
They will do because it's the Red Bull powertrain still. The Red Bull and the sister team RB are still powered by the same engine. But yeah, Aston Martin are currently Mercedes. Williams are Mercedes. Mercedes are Mercedes. Yeah. It's like McLaren's Mercedes as well. So 1, 2. Is it Merc that's got engine dominance for customer teams then?
At the moment, yes.
Until
Things go around, yeah.
yeah. I think McLaren will still stick with the Merc Donkey.
I think Williams will.
Williams will. Mercedes obviously will.
So we've got Aston, but it's going to be more.
Aston
It's
are
nice to
going
see
to
more
Honda.
manufacturers in.
I don't know what Audi are going to be running though.
I think they'll stick with the engine they've got pushing a little bit of their own in.
Oh yeah, they'll have to stick with the Ferrari this year because they're not allowed to. Next year, they're not allowed to do it. It's like Red Bull will stick with the Honda until 2026. So yeah. I mean, yeah, I'd like to see Fernando come back and bounce back. In an Adrian Newey car, but
I just think it's a time when we need somebody else in that car other than Stroll to give us.
Yeah, to help Aston Martin actually get somewhere.
Yeah.
Because you've got to.
And not only that, to give someone like Merck the potential for whoever's next.
Or Aston.
We're actually getting. Well, you could almost say, especially while the Merc engine, that Aston could be acting as a bit of a feeder team if they were playing it right.
Yeah. Because Stroll has only scored 24 points this season. Alonso has scored 58. And out of the bottom lot, he is still the one that. Out of the top 8, Fernando is the only one that seems to be keeping Aston Martin afloat, to be honest.
Yeah.
Especially within the constructors. You know, RB cannot catch Aston Martin at this point. Well, they could.
Yeah.
They could, but it's a long shot. Just with the way that Alonso drives. I mean, like I say, 2025, I expect to see some improvement with the Aston Martin because of, like, maybe Newey's more input because he's allowed to work from March.
Yeah.
I expect that car to see some improvement, but it won't be till 2026 till he's allowed to go
fully start the reins.
To go to the town on the car. That's when we'll notice more of a difference.
Oh yeah.
To be honest, with Aston Martin.
Definitely.
And hopefully by then, we may still see a dominant McLaren next year, but then we won't know anything until after.
Won't really know anything until Bahrain, till Australia race. I know what you're saying about testing, but I always said, wait till we'll know more after Australia.
We'll know more after Australia next year of certain, how certain cars are performing, how certain cars aren't doing.
Oh yeah.
Is there anything else you want to add?
Not really, just a little bit Terry Arcee. Norris got the fastest lap for the extra point. Piastri got driver of the day. I thought well deserved. And also, did you spot? I haven't got the lap. Did you spot that 3 wide overtake into turn 1?
Yes.
Was it RB, an Alpine, and a Merc? I think it was.
Yeah.
I think the RB basically got mugged 1 car up each side. It was a brilliant shot. I want to give a shout out to you guys, Colapinto and Behrman, both drove superbly.
Oh, they did.
And
unfortunately, now Behrman's now got. Obviously, Kevin Magnussen will be back at Singapore.
Now let's see what the Singapore once again's a street circuit, even though it's a slightly different style of street circuit.
Yeah, come on, Perez.
One where Red Bull traditionally don't do well.
The Red Bull doesn't, but come on, Perez. You need to bounce back after.
Oh yeah, and definitely not off Sainz.
Well, yeah.
good night, everyone. Thank you.
So yeah, we're gonna end this one here. So obviously, thank you to everybody for listening, watching, wherever you are. Do appreciate all the listeners. Just makes it worth doing. Obviously, don't forget to like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Yes, it's our gaming channel, but
A lot of F1 content on there.
a lot of F1 content. So yeah, we shall see you for the podcast, the Singapore one. So until then,
So long, and thanks for all the fish.
goodbye for now.